Well, I was just going to say both of us are going to talk about a little bit of Synecdoche now.
Well, you start, because I wouldn't want to spoil it by not knowing what the heck Synecdoche means. Welcome to the Bible in 1 Year podcast, brought to you by two Brits and a Bible. If you like the idea of a casual but meaningful chat about the Bible with a couple of mates, listen up, something here could be good.
Today is day 167, covering Psalms 17, 18, 19, and 20. If you need a brief overview of those chapters, they're in the description.
Can I just point out how we've coordinated very nicely today with the black on red combo?
Yeah.
Tick.
Yeah. I freaking love it. And I love the fact that it was not planned at all.
Yeah. Turn on the camera, you're like, way. Done well.
While we're talking about our physical appearance, audience, I just want to apologize if you are video tuning in. I've been possibly diagnosed with some sort of illness, and it's making my yes, that is the right side. My right eye blink on the camera now. It's very annoying because I do about 6 hours of Zoom calls a day and mostly on video. So it makes it look like I'm winking at you, but I promise I'm not hitting on you, and hopefully it'll be resolved soon. But I wouldn't mind some prayers for my health if that's all right. So Adam's praying for me, and that seems to not be working. So get some. I'm just kidding. I appreciate.
I'm going to chat about that in due course. So
yeah.
Stay tuned.
You to kick start today as well, son.
That's it, man. Well, I'm kicking off with yesterday, bringing it across Psalm 16:2. I say, Lord, apart from you, I have no good thing. And I just wanted to point out, like, we do have good things, and it's okay to have good things and to count our blessings. Just comparatively, we don't have anything good, because compared to God, nothing is good.
Right,
is perfect, but
exactly.
That's not saying like, oh, we can't have good things. So yeah, it was just that, really, kind of a side note.
Yeah, I think that actually links to something I was going to say a bit later on about where was it? From men. He's talking about wicked men in Psalm 17, actually. Psalm 17 verse 12, I think. Men of the world who have had their portion in this life. So as much as, yes, absolutely, you can have nice things in this life and stuff, you shouldn't be aiming to serve yourself and to have those things necessarily in this life. You should be aiming to serve others and serve God. But yeah, absolutely, you're part of what God will bless you with is likely to be not prosperity gospel wise, but more likely some nicer things if you are doing his will. So that's good.
Yeah, and it's the whole store up treasures in heaven kind of thing rather than rewards in this life. I underlined with the same voice.
Awesome.
You're to go start them.
Yes. Just a small one, even though it's a big topic. David's talking about, I've kept away from the paths of the destroyer. And I just was thinking, like, sometimes it's easy to stay off the path of the destroyer, but sometimes it's really hard. Sometimes you don't even know where the path of the destroyer is, right? So it's just a kind of an interest, like, obviously the Bible points to it, and we need to continue in the word. That's why we're doing this, to remind ourselves of all the ways that we're being taken down the path of destruction.
Mm-hmm.
But we're stupid little humans, aren't we? So we could read a verse in the Bible and then just forget it by like 10 minutes later.
Oh, which I do all the time. So
me too. Yeah, exactly.
And also that ties in with what we were chatting about yesterday in Psalm 10 with ambush, they murder the innocent, they lie in wait and catch the helpless. Like that path of the destroyer. Very true, man.
It's so cool.
And
I'm gonna
go on.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, I definitely want to see a wrestling match now between the Chronicler and the Destroyer.
That would be pretty sick. Well, I was just going to say both of us are going to talk about a little bit of Synecdoche now.
Well, you start, because I wouldn't want to spoil it by not knowing what the heck Synecdoche means.
Synecdoche is when part of something represents all of it. So Psalm 17 verse 6, by your right hand. So it's talking about how God will save through his right hand. Obviously that symbolizes all of his power and everything, but the right hand is so significant. Generally, I was looking this up. Obviously the most significant point is the fact that Jesus sits at the right hand, right, of the Father. So even here it's pointing us to Jesus, that it will be through the right hand, through Jesus, that we will be saved.
Yes. I was going to say nothing like that because I was talking about a different verse entirely. I was talking about Psalm 17, verse 8, keep me as the apple of your eye. And it was just apple of your eye. Like, is that the OG apple of your eye statement? And if so, like, what was the history in that? And just some of those points and some of those sayings that we have in today's sort of general lingo that actually originates from the Bible, but people use them so flippantly that it's like, actually, did you not realize that's biblical? And it's really cool. So yeah, the amount of times that happens where it's like people dispute the Bible, but actually it's in our everyday language.
It's so funny, isn't it? It's going to be over hundreds, but I just had a quick Google and there's straight away, first thing, 85 common sayings from the Bible. So but I'm sure there are hundreds. And there's one, I think in today's readings, maybe in a couple of Psalms time, I didn't note it down, but it talks about cup runneth over. That's like quite a common phrase as well. There are so many in the Psalms. So 17:9, hide me under the shadow of your wings from the wicked who oppress me, from my deadly enemies who surround me. The deadly enemies bit particularly, like just imagining, we have some persecution still within a minor way in the West, but there are still so many Christians who have deadly enemies surrounding them. And also like the bird imagery, because quite often we have this imagery of God sort of protecting us with its wings, and we've talked about that on the channel before.
I find it quite interesting. My translation of that is from my mortal enemies who surround me, suggesting we're not talking about sort of supernatural beings here. We're talking about mortal enemies, right? And I was like, that's quite an interesting sort of differentiation there.
Yes, it is. Yeah, that's interesting. That's really interesting.
I'm going to jump into 18, and it's one of those great moments where I had a previous note in my Bible. I don't know whether my camera's going to focus in on it, but I had it sort of highlighted from 18 verse 7 down to 14, I think it is, and it just says, boom, October 2020. And then lower down it says transcendent. I was like, nice. Cool. No idea what I was chatting about, but I was pretty happy with that a couple of years ago, apparently.
I love that. That's just a reminder, if you are reading along in a paper Bible, make reasonable notes if you can. I've got notes like that in my Bible from you already as well, where I'm like, and that obviously I've only had it relatively short amount of time. I was like, I have no idea what's going on.
If it helps, from 11, he made darkness his covering, his canopy around him, the dark rain clouds of the sky. Out of the brightness of his presence, clouds advance with hailstones and bolts of lightning. Like, all right, fair. That's a pretty boom comment.
Yeah, that is boom. That is boom. Couple from me of 18. So David admits his enemies were too strong for him in 18 verse 17. Even the mighty King David knew that the enemies in his life were too much for him. We need to have that same humbleness in our posture when we face our enemies. We shouldn't ever assume that we can take them on. We shouldn't underestimate our enemies and our vices in this life.
Yeah.
And then just linking to that to some extent, 18 verse 31, who is a rock except for our God? It reminds me of the sermon today, actually, from our pastor. He was talking about, like, if you're angry at what's going on in the world, or angry at God for what's going on in the world, realize that there is no standard without God. Like, what are you getting angry at? That he's the basis of everything, obviously. And I just love that idea that all of our solidity comes from God.
That's good.
Yeah, thanks, man. And adding to the goodness, 18 verse 50, to David and his descendants forevermore. He's saying about how he's going to be blessed forever. Obviously, that also points to David, to Jesus, because obviously he comes from the line of David.
Yeah, for sure. What may have not been good is the word, and you can correct me here, you're an English tutor, is the word humbleness a word, or is it just humility? And people say humbleness, and it is a frigging pet peeve of mine.
I think that humbleness is a word, but I might be wrong. Yeah, I think it is. I'm pretty sure it is. But humbleness and humility are synonyms.
Cool.
So the same thing. Yeah. So you can have your cake and eat it too there.
Sounds good, and I flipping well will. All right, well, we've pretty much out of time. I'm going to make one more point because I like it. Psalm 18, 25 and 26. To the faithful, you show yourself faithful. To the blameless, you show yourself blameless. To the pure, you show yourself pure. But to the devious, you show yourself shrewd. And I like that. Tomorrow's reading is going to be Psalm what, 21 to 25. So yeah, start reading.
In the meantime, please consider joining us on social media at 2 Brits and a Bible and sharing this with someone to help spread the word of God.